Karen's obsession with my property had reached a new, almost absurd level. One day, she demanded access to my grandfather's lodge, insisting that she had the right to inspect it because it fell under HOA oversight. The audacity of her claim was staggering. She believed she could simply enter someone else's private property and dictate terms, completely ignoring decades of family legacy and legal rights. When she arrived, she was met not by me, but by my grandfather himself. He was a man of quiet authority, a figure whose presence alone could command respect, and one who had lived through far more than any overzealous HOA member could imagine. Karen began her usual tirade, pointing, waving her arms, and citing HOA rules she didn't fully understand. My grandfather, unflinching, calmly responded, "This is my property. Your authority stops at the boundary line." Karen attempted to push past him, but my grandfather had anticipated her aggression. With careful, deliberate movements, he closed the entrance, restricting access and establishing a clear boundary. Karen's face contorted in disbelief. Her arrogance had met immovable resistance. For someone used to bending rules and intimidating neighbors, this was uncharted territory. I arrived shortly thereafter to find Karen trying to negotiate her way in, still oblivious to the fact that her tactics would not work on someone with experience, authority, and patience. My grandfather's restraint had left her flustered, unsure how to proceed. She attempted to escalate the situation, dialed emergency services, and demanded intervention, insisting that she had a right to enforce HOA standards inside a private lodge. When the responders arrived, I calmly presented the legal documentation proving our rights to the lodge. My grandfather's property had been in the family for decades, fully compliant with local laws, and completely beyond HOA jurisdiction. The officers reviewed everything carefully, and Karen's claims dissolved in front of them. What she thought would be an emergency now looked like petty harassment. Her failure to gain access exposed a pattern I had noticed long ago. Karen thrived on coercion and intimidation, but she lacked preparation and foresight. Each time she attempted to manipulate reality to her favor, her own ignorance betrayed her. She assumed that the rules she wanted to enforce were universal, when in fact they were specific, limited, and legally bounded. By the end of the encounter, Karen had been effectively restrained, not physically but legally and socially. My grandfather stood at the lodge entrance, a calm sentinel, while she retreated, muttering complaints to anyone who would listen. She had misjudged the situation entirely. She had expected compliance but instead encountered authority and preparation. I reflected on the significance of this incident. Karen's obsession with control, her repeated attempts to invade private property, and her unrelenting interference could have created chaos, but our preparation and resolve neutralized every attempt. The lodge remained secure, my grandfather's authority respected, and the HOA's audacious attempts were thwarted once again. That evening, as the sun set over the property, I walked the perimeter of the lodge and noticed something remarkable. Karen's influence in the neighborhood was waning. Each failed attempt had been documented, every interaction recorded, and every overreach countered with legal clarity. The pattern was unmistakable. She could escalate, harass, and manipulate all she wanted, but she could not overcome foresight, preparation, and authority. In the quiet that followed, I realized something essential about the ongoing battle with Karen and the HOA. Control is not won through force or shouting. It is established through knowledge, strategic action, and patience. And in that moment, I knew we had set the stage for all future encounters. Karen had attempted to assert dominance over my grandfather's lodge and failed spectacularly. The message was clear. Boundaries were unbreachable, authority was recognized, and any further intrusion would be met with decisive and calculated response.